trying to find it. We'll eventually get better.
Powered by Riverside.
At this point, I don't think we will. Welcome, everyone. Anchor.fm. We are the worstest podcast, but most knowledgeable podcast when it comes to college football on the interwebs. This is the 4th and 1 podcast, Anchor.fm, coming to you live from Lidditz, Pennsylvania. It is week 4. A quarter of the way through the college football season. We are pumped. Last week, I didn't do so well with my picks. Went 2-3. Took some upsets. Virginia kind of screwed me over. Auburn came close, but no cigar. And what was Arizona State also screwed me over, but we'll get to all of that. We are going to get you well prepared, well read, and all ready to make accurate game picks for Saturday. We're also, if you don't like making picks and you just like watching games, nice. We're going to make sure that you have all the details so that you know what to watch on Saturday when you're watching my top 5 games. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Comment down below who wins the big game this week. Well, there are a few big games, but who wins the big game this week? You got to comment N or W for Notre Dame or Wisconsin. They play each other. We'll be previewing that game. Comment down below also, if you're on YouTube, what game are you most excited about for this weekend? If it's your home team, let me know who your home team is, or if it's just a random game, let me know who it is. But we got some great matchups, a lot of intriguing matchups this weekend. Not a lot of top 25 action, only 2 top 25 teams face off against each other. But again, like I said, a lot of, after last week and performances last week, or lackluster performances, I should say, last week, a lot of intriguing matchups going forward. Simeon, I want to start with this, though. College football, to me, feels wide open right now because of the way that top teams in the country are playing. Oklahoma having issues. Clemson definitely having issues. Bama, why I still think they're the creme de la creme of the college football world. They looked touchable, at least, not like the previous years. Ohio State definitely looks beatable by someone in the Big Ten. You could make an argument Penn State, and again, I'll get to this in a little bit. Penn State might be the best team in the Big Ten right now, as of September 23rd at 3:18 and 41 seconds. No,
it's Iowa and the best in the Big Ten.
All right. Well, we're going to get into that in a little bit. But what's your opinion? Do you feel college football is a little wide open, or do you still think that this is just these teams, a lot of them having a lot of turnover, are still just trying to figure it out, and by week 6 or 7, they're just going to be clicking and murdering people?
It's one of those things that I feel like you and I chatted before the season kicked off that we both wanted this to be like 2007, where it was like very much
a lot of turnover at the top.
Yeah, a lot of turnover at the top. And it's been that way, but it hasn't necessarily felt that way only because of COVID. So, like, I agree with you, but I don't think it's as big of a deal as you and I want it to be. I think
I don't think that would come until later in the season, right?
Yeah, I think that's also a thing. Like, Bama's played Miami. Like, that's it. They've played 2 other cupcakes. And a lot of other teams have played a lot of cupcakes, notwithstanding a good majority of the Big Ten for some reason.
Well, Big Ten has a rule you're no longer allowed to play FCS teams, I think.
Still, like, Michigan, yeah, but they play Northern Illinois. Like, you look at some of these teams that they're playing against good MAC schools. They're playing against, good Sun Belt schools. These other good schools, they're not over there playing the UMasses or the Liberties of the world, sort of deal. However, Liberty's scaring me with what they're doing this season, so we'll get back to that later.
Well, yeah, Liberty's 3-0, I saw. They got a big matchup this weekend. BYU, I definitely underestimated BYU there. We'll get that to them in the review section of the podcast. Again, I just kind of feel like the teams that I think COVID, well, kind of leading into COVID, 18 and 19, it was kind of the same Final Four teams in the playoffs. And then 2020, it just, because there was limited practice and limited hitting, it really showed the talent disparity between the top tier of college football, Ohio State, Alabama, Oklahoma, Georgia, teams like that, Clemson, and the rest of the league. But I think this year, I really think, and Colin Cowherd kind of put it the best way, let's not freak out because of what teams did under COVID. Now, if they repeat that in 2021, yeah, that's different. But now teams are vaccinated, they're allowed to practice, they're allowed to hit people. So I think we're seeing a rebalancing, maybe not an overtaking of the top, but definitely a more of a well-balanced, rebalanced. But anyway,
I think that's a good way of putting it. I think the transfer portal has also helped with that. Talent allowed to go where they're going to play, and talent knowing, having more information coming at them about who's good, who's a good coach, who's going to get them to the next level, or what school they want to go to just to get a degree and play football. You see that a lot with different quarterbacks transferring around. I forget who it was. There was a guy, no name, went to New Mexico State. He went from like the SEC, starting in the SEC, to New Mexico State or something like that. I'll have to look it up,
well, there's Nick Starkel. I don't know if that's who you're talking about, but he went from Mississippi State to San Jose State.
And there's that guy too.
He's spinning the.
That's a good example. Not the guy. Yeah. There was another guy. I'll look him up.
Well, that's fine. But let's jump into the check down. Check down's kind of sparse. Check down is really made to catch you up on what happened last week, but it's kind of sparse. I don't take everything out of note. But here we go. So Ben Simmons does not plan to report to the 76ers training camp as it opens here in a couple weeks at the end of September, beginning of October, I believe. He also plans to never play another dribble of basketball for the 76ers of Philadelphia. We covered this a few weeks ago. This is really nothing new. My thing is still he's playing the victim, and he's the perpetrator in this. He acts like the 76ers didn't surround him with really good talent, did that. They didn't surround him with another superstar and a defensive-minded head coach and a head coach that loves his talent and another superstar that is okay sharing the spotlight with him. They've done all that. Doc Rivers came out this week and said, I haven't given up on Ben Simmons. We haven't given up on Ben Simmons. That's fine. Ben Simmons has clearly given up on you. In every single playoffs, when defensives... Oh, I'm missing the word. But
stroking out there?
Yeah. Well, it's the worstest podcast on the interwebs.
Worstest podcast on the interwebs.
When defenses hone in on what he can do and, more importantly, what he can't do, i.e. shoot the basketball, then he throws a temper tantrum and looks disengaged and doesn't do the things he's great at, which is passing, getting to the basket, making layups, and getting rebounds, and running the fast break. No, he doesn't do that. Instead, he throws a fit and pouts the whole way, kind of like James Harden does. Now, here's the thing. So he wants to be traded immediately. 76ers don't want to trade him for nothing.
Right.
And the 76ers still have all the power because they have Joel Embiid and a very good roster.
Right. Tyrese
Maxey proved last year in the playoffs he can at least be half decent if he can take that next step here in year two. Joel Embiid, I plan that he's out for blood because he lost the MVP, although he missed a whole bunch of games last year, so that was fine by me. 76ers will be fine. And even if they're sitting 4th or 5th in the West, until they make a trade and get a package of players back, that's fine. because as long as you have home court advantage kind of through the first couple rounds of the playoffs, you're fine. Listen, Brooklyn's going to be awesome. Milwaukee's going to be awesome. You know that. And then it's Philadelphia. Is it Miami? They upgraded. Or can Atlanta stay there? Those are the big questions. Next, the Superdome has seen some rough decades. First Hurricane Katrina way back when, and then it always gets pounded right in the butthole with hurricanes, and it has to withstand the ruckus of New Orleans and the Saints fan is inside of it. Great stadium. However, it caught on fire. While restoring it to allow the Saints to finally come home from New Orleans, they've been playing on the road this whole time. They were power washing the roof of the stadium to get ready to reseal it. The generator caught on fire and caught a section of the roof on fire. One person was injured with minor burns and was taken to local hospitals. Authorities think he will be fine. More of note, they do not think that it will delay the home opener in week 4 for the Saints. Which is always good because, again, New Orleans, Who Dat Nation is one of the greatest crowds in all of sports.
Yeah, I looked at the photos. Caesars. It's the Caesars Superdome now. Not that mattered.
Well, that's good to know.
It looks like it's mostly minor cosmetics kind of catching on fire. But, yeah, LOL. Good job. Good for you. Sorry, Mom. Oh, that's not the right one, but there we go. So close.
We are the worstest podcast on the internet.
We're really laying into it today, guys.
And finally, back in our little home niche here, the College Football Playoff Board will not vote next week on whether to expand the playoff to either 8 or 12 teams. We're planning on voting when they meet next week. They have since moved that to a virtual meeting because of COVID and the fact that Oklahoma and Texas have moved. Now there's some more hurdles about, well, if the Big 12 is not going to be as good, do we really want it to be 12? Do we just want it to be 8? Do we want it to be 14? Because we know that the SEC would get even now more teams in than what we already had. So they talked to the head of the board, Heather Dinich from ESPN did, and I was reading the article, and he totally expects it to be voted on and passed whenever that is. They just have to clear some more hurdles, which I totally expected because of the whole Texas and Oklahoma situation, which we covered in previous podcasts. So if you haven't heard those, go check those out.
Wait for it.
I made that one just to be obnoxious. Was that voting for this year, or the following year? For the playoff to take effect. Sorry, the 12-team playoff.
Well, again, that's one of the things they have to work out. They don't really know when it's going to take effect. The plan was next year originally, but again, now with all the changes, the problem is when they wanted it to take effect, then 2 years after that, the SEC, the Big 12,
I don't care.
The Pac-12, it was all going to realign.
No one cares. Give me a 12-team playoff. I want it. I need it, and I want it. No one cares. Everybody wants it. This should have been the way that it was to begin with. Give it to me. I don't care if it's this year, and y'all have to suck some cities off in order to get stadiums, you know. I don't care. I don't care if you play it down here at E-Town High School football. Just give me a 12-team playoff. Please, for the love of all things holy.
I love how I originally started this podcast, and I kind of drug you along because I wanted to talk college football because Twitter is such a toxic place, and I was tired of tweeting all my thoughts on Twitter. And now you're more passionate about the 12-team playoff than I am.
Well, listen, I've always enjoyed sports. We both basically talk. Oh, by the way, that was the check down brought to you by you guys, Anchor.fm, to go throw some support at. Main supporter is Mom. Thank you, Mom, for everything that you do. If you want to shout out on the podcast, Anchor.fm/4th-and-1. Support us there.
All you got to do is donate us $1 and we'll shout you out.
We'll shout you out. We'll make bets with your money, and we'll let you know if your money won. we're best at talking college football. Just for some, it would be like two soccer guys talking soccer. That's what we are. I never liked the BCS. Even as a young kid when I didn't know better, I never liked the BCS championship.
BCS was trash.
Especially after those 2 years that LSU and Alabama just played defense against each other for a whole game.
Okay, well, that was only 1 year.
Oh, no. The next year was the kick sis, and that was Auburn, Alabama.
The fact that Boise State would lose one game by a field goal and then blow out everyone else by 20-plus points, and they would never make the championship game, was just asinine to me.
It's one of those things. You're 100% correct. It is asinine. There was 1 year where Oklahoma State got ripped off by it. There was another thing that I wanted to say regarding the BCS. I don't even remember what it was.
It's that bad, ladies and gentlemen. He can't even remember.
I think the thing that I wanted to say, and I want to kind of go over here real quick to the current college football rankings. We kind of touched on this before, but it still makes sense. They are way out of proportion due to COVID and the wins that happened last year.
What do you mean by they're way out of proportion?
Well, like the fact that UCLA was able to drop 11 positions, like that would never happen 2 years ago, where we had someone.
Can you actually throw the rankings up on? the screen,
let me.
please?
This is ESPN here.
That's fine. Let me talk a little. There is the AP poll, especially. I think when the College Football Playoff Committee, when they get a hold of them at the beginning of November, they don't overreact as much as the AP poll. Fresno. So let me start. Let me start there. This is the review segment of week 3, everyone. So yeah, we're gonna jump right in here since this is where we're going. So UCLA played Fresno State.
Right.
Fresno State only lost to Oregon, the number 3 team in the nation now?
Yeah, right now. Yeah, they moved up
by 7 points in week 1. Okay, we all said, or in week 1, me and Simeon told you to watch that game because it was going to be a close game, and it was. Oregon then went to the number 2 or 3, but now number 9 team in the nation. 10, Ohio State, and manhandled them. Went to Columbus and did that.
Yeah.
And then Fresno State wins after losing to Oregon. They win in week 0, win in week 1, win in week, and then go to UCLA and manhandle UCLA. Not really manhandle.
Sorry, I have to remember who they lost to. They lost to Oregon. That's right. Sorry. Continue.
Actually, I would say manhandled. UCLA was massively outgained and out time of possession in a loss to Fresno State. Fresno State held the ball for 40 minutes. UCLA only 20, and Fresno State had 569 total yards, and UCLA had 400.
Right.
So they outplayed UCLA. Now they almost lost. But you're telling me, and now Fresno State is ranked 20-something?
22nd in the AP.
And you're telling me that UCLA drops 11 spots because what the AP poll is telling us is a better team beat them?
Right.
By 7 points?
This is why the AP poll, it's better to go off of the coaches poll, which, frankly, UCLA also dropped 24, but right now it's better to go off the coaches poll because it's weighted better.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like, Penn State should be 6. Well, sorry. I'm okay with, like, where the top 10, top 8, I'm okay with.
Who do they have at 2?
Huh?
Who do they have at 2?
They have Georgia at 2.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, the print's kind of small.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that's fine.
I'm going to switch it up here for a hot second just to make our lives easier. Give me 1 second. Sorry. This one. There we go.
No,
okay.
But you are totally
okay.
Oh yeah, there we go. You are totally right. The coaches poll is a little bit better weighted, but there's so much overreaction in the AP, and then on top of that, so then the College Football Playoff Committee based their initial rankings, and then subsequently all the rankings after that, on how the AP ranks their teams and the matchups then that happen based off of that.
Right. It doesn't.
So like for example, say Michigan this week is 18, 19. They're 19 this week.
Yeah.
Say they just absolutely diarrhea the bet against Rutgers this week, right? So Michigan would drop out of the AP, but then say Michigan goes on a run next week, beats Wisconsin, and beats Michigan State, and then
a good Michigan State team,
Michigan State team, who we'll get into here in a minute, and then they beat Indiana, and they beat all these other teams, right? And then the first week, and so they're ranked like 24. Well, then the College Football Playoff Committee, that first weekend, is going to rank Michigan very low because they lost to an unranked Rutgers team, when you could make the argument, right now Rutgers is 3-0. This Rutgers, and I'm going to preview it, the Rutgers-Michigan game is actually in a very intriguing game this weekend. Because they're both 3-0, they're both great defensive squads, and neither of these teams, there are 3 teams in the nation that haven't turned the ball over. Rutgers and Michigan are 2 of the 3 of them, and they're playing each other this weekend. This is actually, on paper, a great matchup. Now, whether or not it turns out to be that way, we'll get to that in a minute. But Michigan would be penalized for losing to an unranked Rutgers team, even though Rutgers would be, then later on, if Rutgers keeps winning, would be a great team.
Yeah, I don't get why strength of schedule doesn't factor in until the last week of
again, strength of schedule is based off the AP initial rankings as well. Right,
which the AP initial rankings is basically based off of the top 25, but they didn't seem to put the top 25. You look at, let's just real quick we'll look at the preseason AP top 25.
This is excellent. So you have Alabama legit, Oklahoma. Yep. So it was Alabama 1 legit, Oklahoma legit, Clemson not looking so.
Right.
Ohio State yet to be seen, probably going to be okay. Georgia looks legit.
Yeah,
that's 5. 6 is Texas A&M. Just lost their quarterback, can't do anything about that, but their team's well rounded. Iowa State, Cincinnati
shouldn't be ranked in my opinion right now.
Cincinnati shouldn't?
No. Iowa State. So continue on.
Yeah.
Cincinnati.
You can make that. Cincinnati. Notre Dame hasn't looked great. North Carolina ranked way too high. Oregon way too low. Wisconsin lost to Penn State at
more
home.
Like 20 is what I'm thinking they should have been.
Florida, Miami's trash. USC trash. LSU trash. I mean, and by trash I don't actually mean trash. They're decent teams, but they're not top 25 teams right now.
Yeah.
Iowa's better. Indiana's trash. Penn State's better. Washington's absolutely garbage. Texas is up and coming. Coastal Carolina is okay. Louisiana, And then who are the bottom two teams? Utah.
Utah and Arizona State.
Trash and okay.
Yeah. I'm looking at these AP. It's not good. I have to look at who they played and how they played them. Each team specifically before I rank them this year.
Yes, I hate preseason rankings because they haven't. You're basing it off of kids you haven't seen play yet,
right?
And last year's production,
right?
And you can't do that in college football because you're 65% new roster every year.
This is why I think this is what I was going to say earlier when we were talking about the BCS. This is why I like a 12-team playoff. Because there's a meme out there that goes, college football fans are so weird, Sorry. College football fans are so weird, they lose one game and they want to go kill themselves. And the reply was, yeah, because you lose one game and you end up in the Small Arms Pickaxe Bowl.
Right, in Boise, Idaho. Yeah.
In Boise, Idaho, or middle of nowhere, South Dakota. This is why I like it, because basically you would be able to take the top team from every conference. And it's more like the NFL, where all of a sudden you're having the freaking Coastal Carolinas and Louisianas of the world getting in. Yeah, they'll get smoked the first round, but they can build their programs that way. And all of a sudden your programs are getting more recognition and you're spreading the wealth a little bit more, which at the end of the day, every college football fan likes.
Yeah.
Michigan is still going to remember the time that Michigan State blocked the punt. Okay? Literally the next year they came out for vengeance. It's just
they
one of
smoked
those
them the next year. Next year they hammered them. Yep.
it's good for Michigan State that they beat Michigan that
Yep.
year. You know, that's the reason. I truly believe right now that's the reason they're ranked 21. That and their new coach. I think that is the right because they blocked that punt. Because remember, they went downhill then, but they were able to hold on because they beat Michigan 3-4 years ago now. So, anyway, that's my take. We should be ranking these people off of the divisions that they play.
Real quick, pull that back up to me. Pull the current top 25 back up.
And I won't break anything this time.
Hopefully not. Here's what I want to do. I want to do a little exercise. I'm going to rank the top 10 teams based on how they've looked the first 3 weeks, okay? I don't care about level of competition. This is how you've looked. So if you've played bad teams, I want you to have thumped them in the stomach with a sledgehammer. If you've played top teams, I want you to look pretty well composed. Number one, I would still have Alabama. You thumped a Miami squad, you thumped a Mercer squad. Granted, it's Mercer. And then you played a good Florida team on the road. You were on your way to thumping them before you kind of let up a little bit. Number two, and no one's going to like this. Number two might be Michigan State. Michigan State has looked, I'm sorry, not Michigan State. Number two is Penn State. Penn State has looked absolutely fantastic. Their offense was a little stop and go there in week one. Thumped Ball State and then gave it to an SEC team, albeit at home, but they've looked good. They're solid both offensively and defensively. Number three, you got to go with Michigan. They lead the nation right now in rushing. They're a top 5 defense. They're a top 5 scoring offense. Right. And they have thumped Western Michigan, thumped Washington, and blew the brakes off Northern Illinois, who just went down to
I don't know.
They went down to an ACC school, and they won.
Yeah, good for them. Do you want me to look that up, by the way? Okay.
Then you got to put Michigan State in there. Michigan State thumped Northwestern, thumped Youngstown State, and then just gave it to Miami. Yeah.
That's the biggest. Michigan State, to my book right now, Ohio State shouldn't be ranked. Hot take.
Ooh.
Ohio State should not be ranked right now, or they should be like 24, 25.
And you got to throw then to round out my top 5 just real quick. Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Ole Miss's offense, I'm not sure no one can stop, and Alabama might lose to Ole Miss.
Which Ole Miss would like because they'd like Archie Manning. Arch Manning. Let's not lie there. That's like the Ole Miss is the front runner because Grandpa and Uncle went to Ole Miss.
He attended the Georgia-South Carolina game.
Oh, well. Yeah, Penn State's good. Wisconsin shouldn't be ranked. Definitely shouldn't be ranked.
So let me do this. Of the top 10 teams, who shouldn't be in the top 10? Don't give me rankings. Just say who shouldn't be in the top 10. Who shouldn't be in the top 10?
Clemson.
Yep.
Ohio State. Texas A&M.
I think you're...
Maybe Oklahoma.
Yep.
Switch one of those two.
So I think Texas A&M has deserved to be in the top 10 because they've lost their quarterback. Do not drop them out of the top 10 until they don't look like a top 10 team.
No. You're right. It's Oklahoma.
Yes.
Oklahoma does not look good. Again, I'm right about Spencer Rattler. Okay. Thank you very much.
Spencer Rattler doesn't play
disagree
defense,
with me,
my dude.
Sure, but he throws it to the defense.
I don't think he threw an
Didn't he throw like 1 or 2 interceptions?
No, I don't think so.
We're going to look that up. We're going to stop sharing the screen instead of hitting the stop button this time.
Anyway, let me run through what else happened last week. First and foremost, Ohio State. You got to get your defense together. So they took their defensive play calling away from Kerry Cones, their defensive coordinator. Excuse me, hang on. Ooh.
He's just dying. It's
okay. And they gave it to Matt Barnes, their secondary coach. Well, then their secondary coach, who coaches the secondary,
Spencer Rattler has 2 INTs. Suck it,
yeah, he
Sean.
threw both of those against Tulsa, or against not Tulsa, the Green Wave.
Wait for it.
New Orleans.
Oh my goodness.
Wait for it.
I saw actually a good
Tulane is what you're looking for there,
well,
buddy.
actually, that was a great soundbite. Great setup.
You're
so
welcome.
Ohio
You're
State.
welcome.
So anyway, they give it to their secondary coach. So you would think that their pass game would be okay, or their pass defense. No, they gave up 450 yards, 500 yards total to a winless at the time Tulsa team, still winless. They went on to win the game because they were able to run their ball, but their offense looked not great. Bama, you can throw the ball round yard all you want. You can't run the ball still. And Florida, and you look beatable if you're Bama. Florida looks good enough to win the East, but you need to start Anthony Richardson. You would have won that game, I believe, if you did not start Emory Jones and you started Anthony Richardson, but he had a hamstring injury. Michigan, well, I kind of touched on it. Their running game is absolutely elite. They lead the nation in rushing, over 350 yards. However, their defense and their passing game still has a lot to prove. Now, you're going to find out more about them this week against Rutgers, a little bit more, because that's a legit defense. Not that Washington wasn't, but Rutgers is even more. And more specifically, next week against Wisconsin on the road at Madison in a first big, real meeting for Harbaugh. If they win next week against Madison, I think Michigan is teetering on the verge of being back. Nebraska. Why Oklahoma wasn't out of the top 10? Because if Nebraska's kicker could actually kick the ball through the freaking uprights, they would have won that game. He missed 3 kicks, an extra point, and 2 field goals, and they lost, let's do the math, by 7. Yep.
So he basically lost by a field goal.
Yeah, pretty much.
By 3 field goals.
Pretty much.
Technically.
Miami was exactly what we said they would be. Extremely sloppy with 4 turnovers and 10 penalties. Michigan State played well. Definitely played well. And a defensive-led team. So their coach is he calls the defensive plays, gave up 450 yards to Michigan State. Now, Michigan State has kind of turned the corner and is more explosive than years past, but it's Michigan State. They don't live in Coral Gables. It was 115,000,000 degrees with humidity, and you got run off the field on your home turf.
That game was in Miami.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Dear Lord.
Michigan State, on the other hand, looks to be contenders for the East. Them and Penn State and Michigan, honestly, have looked like the 3 best Eastern Division teams, and that's with Ohio State there. However, at this moment, I would pick Michigan State to beat Michigan, as much as it pains me, and I almost threw up in my mouth doing that. And Clemson, not nearly a championship contender. Ooh, and so I was voice typing this, and I said Uwe Ungalale, their quarterback, and it translated it to Bowie Angela Lee.
Lies.
Uwe Ungalale is not nearly as good of a quarterback as Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, or Trevor Lawrence. They cannot run the ball behind a veteran offensive line, and there's no explosiveness anywhere in the passing game or on the outside. There are going to be some coordinator changes in the offseason for Clemson, 100% guaranteed. The top 10 were, really the top 15 was not impressive at all. You could have really taken the bottom 15 and replaced them with the top 15, give or take some teams, and no one would have batted an eye because of how mediocre the top teams, again, based on the AP poll, looked this past weekend. North Carolina really screwed me over. I felt really good about that Virginia. They were leading at halftime of the Virginia-North Carolina game, and then what did North Carolina do? Run for 320 yards. I'm telling you, people, you got to listen to me. What did I say last week? North Carolina's leading rusher was their quarterback, Sam Howell. That's why I couldn't take them.
Right.
And then what do? Josh Downs runs for 200 yards, and they run for 300 yards as a team. That opens up their pass game. They almost get 700 total yards in the game, and they hang 69 on Virginia. Now, they gave up 39, and their defense sucks, but they can...
Should have called the over on that game.
They score with everybody. And then we already talked about UCLA getting absolutely housed at home by Fresno. However, they really should have won the game. Their defense really sucks at this moment, though. And UCLA has maybe the number one rushing defense in the nation. Anyway, that was the review for the weekend. So, yeah, I'm really excited. We are at the quarter point of the college football season. So, let's get right in.
Quarter point? Who are you?
The quarter games, as it were.
So pile into your clown car of lies, because you're all going down.
Where did you find that one?
That was just a random YouTube recommendation. Do you know what that's
The
from?
League?
Yeah. So, and this is right...
Lies.
That's right after it. Like he's squeezing a nose.
Oh.
Lies. Because
It's
they're
Nick
clowns.
Kroll who does
Nick Kroll.
Big Mouth on Netflix now.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yeah.
The League, highly recommend. It is very funny. All right, let's jump right into this. So I'm going to go backwards here because the big games of the day are at noon and 3 o'clock this week.
I actually have to pull up the schedule.
So I am going to start with the night game in the Pac-12. Well, it kicks off at 6 p.m., but no one's going to watch it because it's on the Pac-12 network, and no one has the Pac-12 network. I don't even know how to find the Pac-12 network, to be quite honest with you. Anyway, number 24, UCLA finally goes on the road to unranked Stanford. UCLA coming off a bad loss to Fresno State team. Their secondary definitely needs work. They are allowing 342 yards a game through the air. Now, their defensive line and linebacking core, absolutely fabulous. They are allowing they're allowing 63 rushing yards per game. Problem is, Stanford wants to run the football. Stanford's getting 4.5 points, okay? So this is not that much of a disparity.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, man.
You are stroking out today, my dude.
That's what happens when you're Micaiah. Stanford, can they run the football on a great defensive line in Stanford and a great running defense in UCLA? More importantly, if UCLA is just going to let you throw the ball, just throw the football. You have a quarterback, Tanner McKee, who played really well against against USC. Yeah, that's what my brain feels like right now. Played really well against USC, and really the only time this Stanford team did not look good was the opening week. And since then, they've kind of battled back. They're a respectable 2-1. But also, they have to be able to stop UCLA's running game. Chip Kelly wants to run the football because when you run the football, it's easy to win football games. We all know this by now. We are week 4. You should be repeating that every single week to yourself because I'm going to be repeating it to you. So can Stanford stop the run? They're allowing 210 yards per game on the ground. Well, that's exactly what UCLA wants to do. Problem is, Stanford wants to run the ball, and UCLA is really good at stopping running the ball, so can Stanford throw the ball? The over-under is 58.5. I would say take... Oh, that...
Take the under.
You would take the under?
Wait, hold on. 53.5. They're averaging both points per game currently. They're both teams, if they maxed out, would be 70 points. So I actually think that's a little bit low.
I don't.
With the amount of teams.
Let's think about this, though. Florida and Alabama, maybe two of the best top 10 offensive in the country, only hit 60.
That's true. And points allowed per game would be 50. So, yeah, never mind. I stick with my original
You just
thing.
got to go with your gut. Ladies and gentlemen, my boy here is having a really tough time.
I am 0-5.
He is 0-5 in his locks of the week. Okay, so his locks in the week have basically just whatever he says, just do the opposite at this point. However, he's going to keep grinding. He's going to get on a hot streak here, and we're going to make you some money. Moi, on the other hand, if you've been following my picks and taking the money line on all these games, I have made you dollar bills, y'all. I am 11-6 through 3 weeks, okay? I am so hot right now. Now, I did have a down week last week because I did take, well, Arizona State screwed me, and then Virginia, I really should have just taken North Carolina, but...
To be fair, Arizona State screwed me too.
So, well, that is true. And you were looking good through a quarter and a half with that game when I went to bed. So anyway, Simeon, UCLA, you said take the under, but UCLA or Stanford, who you got?
I think UCLA. I think you have UCLA too. I think UCLA is a bit upset. They lost to Fresno last week. I think they've had a good season so far. I think they're going to get back on track. Or they won't, but that's going to be one or the other. They're either going to get run over, because that's what Chip Kelly sometimes happens to him, or they won't, but I don't think they will. So I'm taking UCLA by a score. I'll take it with the points, win outright.
Okay.
And I think that's what you're going to pick.
I'm also going to take UCLA because Stanford gives up 210 yards rushing. Now, UCLA's got to fix the back end. They're not a championship contender, allowing 342 yards through the air. But Stanford's a very balanced football team. They rush for right around 200.
128
and they
yards.
pass for about that. So you can inflate that number a little bit, but again, they allow 210 yards. UCLA loves to run the ball and control the clock. And despite them being outgained and out time of possession big time by Fresno last week, they put up 33 points. They're a big, quick strike offense, just like Oregon was when Chip Kelly was there. I like UCLA. Again, I like them by a score. I think that this is a close game. Stanford, though, is up and coming. This might... I don't want to say that, but Stanford, if they can get the quarterback passing game figured out and run the ball with a little more consistency, Stanford's up and coming this year, and watch out for them in the Pac-12.
I just saw they played the 19th of December last year. Went into second overtime. Do you remember this game? UCLA lost by 1.
Yes, I do remember that. Yeah.
I think that's probably why it's so high. But yeah, move on to your next
All right.
game.
I like that, by the way. That was very nice. Number 14, Iowa State, who we would both have unranked at this junction in time, is going on the road and is a touchdown. That's 7 points, Mom. Favorite at Baylor. The over-under is 47.5. Baylor loves to run the football. They average 323 yards on the ground. They are 3-0, which makes this an intriguing game. Iowa State, however, allows 49 yards on the ground. So this is good on good right here. This is the definition. Iowa State's mark on defense is stopping the run. Baylor loves to run the football. Iowa State, the big problem with them is you got the type of football they play, you have to avoid the mistakes. What happened in the Iowa game? They had 4 turnovers, a fumble, and 3 interceptions. Brock Purdy threw 3 picks. If he hadn't done that, that's a really close game. Baylor, are they for real? They have a quarterback by the name of Gary Bohannon. He is completing the ball at 73%. That is insanely good, and he has not thrown an interception. Baylor is led by Dave Aranda, who was the defensive coordinator the year LSU won the championship back in 2019 with that historic offense. They are getting 7 points, and they have an Iowa State team coming in. Here's the problem with Iowa State. And before you're like, Iowa State's going to rebound. Iowa State can always go either way. Iowa State can either get on a roll and win 7 straight games and look good doing it, or they play these really tight, messy games. Do they want... Week 1, messy against an FCS school. Week 2, blown out by Iowa, turned the ball over. Week 3, it was their turn to blow out someone. It comes down to this. How is Brock Purdy going to play? And I don't know. And truthfully, I don't know how Gary Bohannon's going to play. I don't know if Baylor's going to be able to run the football because Baylor's 3-0. They've played 2 FCS schools and Kansas, who you might as well just count as an FCS school at this point in time because they suck major straws milkshakes. That was a terrible...
It's okay. We still love you.
Do you, though? Anyway...
Well, Dick, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
So the over-under is 47.5. I would take the under on this.
Yeah. I would take the under, and I'm going to take Baylor with the points. I'm going to take them to lose, basically, because they're not favored right yet. So Baylor plus the points. I don't see this being a high-scoring game at all. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 16-10 like they did Northern Illinois.
Or even
Northern
like
Iowa.
a 17-24, 20,
Yeah.
20. I mean, you can even do a 27, like 27-20 game, and you're still hitting the under. I wouldn't. I would not bet on. I would not bet on that point spread just because it is so close to what I think the final score might be. But I'm here to make you money. I'm here to give you winners. Baylor's talking to me. Baylor's really talking to me. And listen, I know I just came off a week where I picked the underdog and they right in the butthole. But I just like Baylor.
Way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
They're at home. The freshmen are going to run on the field beforehand. It's going to be loud. It's in Texas. Not that that has anything to do with it.
Deep in the heart of Texas.
And I don't know what I'm getting from Brock Purdy. So I'm taking Baylor. If you are not good with picking Baylor outright, I would take Baylor plus the 7. I really would. I think that this is a close game. This is a 7-point game. At worst, it's an 8-point game. Now, it doesn't help you. You still lose money. But I think that this is a close game. I don't know what I'm getting from Iowa State. I really don't, and that's why I am... Oh, that's a dog outside. I thought that was my dog. I thought... So, yes, I'm taking Baylor. And if you don't like that, but you don't want to take Iowa State to win, I would take Baylor plus the 7.
Okay, that took 3 years for you to get through
know
that
what?
one.
Rutgers at Michigan. And everyone's saying, why is Micaiah doing Rutgers at Michigan? Rutgers sucks, and he's just a homer, and he just wants to talk about Michigan. Well, I do just want to talk about Michigan because I love Michigan. But more importantly, I covered this earlier in the podcast. Rutgers is 3-0 and has not turned the ball over and has looked good in their 3 games, albeit against crappy competition. This is a real defense for Michigan to kind of take another step up. Michigan's offensive line, if you haven't tuned into the pod earlier or you fast forward until this point, has road graded every single front 7 it's faced through 3 weeks of college football. And they have executed on offense, I'm going to jinx it, but I'm saying it anyway, nearly to perfection. They had 8 rushing touchdowns last week. They scored on all 9 of... They were 9 for 9 on their first 9 possessions last week, scoring touchdowns.
They carried the over by themselves.
They carried the over by themselves. The over-under is 50. I'm going to hammer that.
Yeah.
Because I think that this, at worst, is a 40-20 game. Michigan, number 1 ranked rushing offense, 350. Do they have a passing game? And can their defense prove themselves? I'm still saying this over and over, but we have Michigan, Western Michigan, solid, not great. Washington sucks. Northern Illinois, solid, not great. Can their defense, when they are challenged, can Mike McDonald make this team stand up when it is 17-24 down the stretch, start halfway through the third quarter, their offense goes down, it is now 24-17. Can he get this defense to stand up and say, you have to make a stop now because the offense is tired and it needs a break. You have to make a stop. And you have to get momentum for us. This game's at the Big House. Michigan's getting 20 points, which I think, again...
21, actually,
it's 21, so even more people are putting it... I think what this is, people they're looking at was the Michigan-Washington game, and that was just about 20 points as well. And people have reviewed, Michigan has dominated Rutgers in the past. Last year was the close, took 2 overtimes, but was the closest that these 3 overtimes, and was the closest that these 2 teams have been in a while. Harbaugh absolutely runs over Rutgers. Now, in the past, everyone does. But I'm going to take Michigan. Now, you're not going to bet the money line on that because your odds are terrible. Michigan's like at minus 1,200 or something like that.
13 right now,
You take the over in this game. Okay, Michigan is either going to road grade Rutgers and score 40, 50 points by themselves, or they're going to score 30 and their defense is going to give up 20. Either way, you're hitting the over.
Here's the reason the over-under is set what it is. Micaiah is 100% right, and I just kind of want to show you the numbers, okay?
Do it. Educate these fools. That's what they're
Points
here for.
allowed per game for both teams is 11.3.
Yes.
Rutgers is only putting up 6 less points than Michigan did against worse talent.
Yep.
So that's why the over-under is so low, even though Rutgers and Michigan went into triple overtime. And we know Michigan likes to take at least one team who probably shouldn't be into triple overtime every year.
It's like clockwork. You're absolutely 100%.
And it's usually like the second to last game.
Yes. It's usually right before the Ohio State game because they're looking ahead to Ohio State. I think the year that they blow out the team before they play Ohio State is the year that they actually beat Ohio State.
Here is, and this is the thing, okay? Do everything. I'm saying I agree 100% with what Micaiah said. Just want to throw this in there just for kicks and giggles. Okay, Cade McNamara is throwing 50% less yards than the Rutgers quarterback, which I find interesting, but same amount of touchdowns. Okay, basically. Blake Corum, probably ranked right now like 4th in the Heisman race, possibly 3rd.
He leads the nation
depends.
in total touchdowns right now with 7.
Yeah, he has 7, and he has 400 yards, okay?
In 3 games.
Which means he's going to have 1,000 yards rushing if they can keep this up, which when he's running the ball with their 1-2 punch,
Hassan Haskins, Thunder and Lightning, as they like to call
Thunder
him.
which is it's a dangerous 1-2 punch. It's like Moss and Chris Carter. That's how good the running game has been.
Listen, I'm telling you, I have never seen an offensive line be able to road grade a front 7 in the last 5 years of college football the way
the reason that their running game is so good is because their front line is just spectacularly good.
As of right, and it's deep and it's good. Harbaugh clearly went to Josh Gattis and said, we got to run the football, and there's no other way. I do, real quick, before you finish your thought, I do want to throw Rutgers some loves.
No, I'm finished.
Tell people what to watch out for with Rutgers. Rutgers, can they force Michigan to pass? No team yet has been able to force Michigan to throw the football. And if they can, how does Michigan respond to that? Does Michigan have a defense, and a legit defense, and do they have a legit passing game? And my other note is, can they expose Michigan's pass defense? I don't think many teams are going to be able to run on Michigan very well because of the type of scheme that Mike McDonald runs at Michigan between their defensive line and their linebacking core. But they still run a lot of man-to-man, which is what Don Brown used to run at Michigan, and they have been susceptible through the first 3 weeks in hurry-up offenses, in man-to-man, letting up big chunk plays. So can Rutgers expose that? So just really watch out when Rutgers has the ball on both offense and when they're defending, how they involve the pass game and how they defend it. But I'm still taking Michigan, and I'm still hammering the over because I think that's just a tad low.
He just figured out the whole damn thing from beginning to end like he was in the room.
Yeah. Wow.
There was like 3 good sound bites on that video alone.
You're excellent today because that makes so much sense here. Anyway, let's go back. So that's at 3 o'clock. Michigan Rutgers at 3 o'clock. Another 3 o'clock game. More importantly, more highly touted the game everyone will be watching at 3 o'clock, besides Michigan and Rutgers fans, is number 7 Texas A&M at a neutral site game, AT&T Stadium. That's Jerry World down there in Austin, Texas. That is not in Texas, it's of Texas. Or it's in Texas, it's not of Texas. It's one of those things. Anyway, taking on the up-and-coming number 16 Arkansas Razorbacks.
Looking very good.
Very good. Sam Pittman, who is the coach there. He was a lineman back in the day for Arkansas. Do you know that Arkansas's I'm thinking of how I want to put this. Arkansas has money. They have old white people money. Do you know why?
Because Jerry Jones went to Arkansas?
Yeah, but there's another reason.
Because Bill Clinton went to Arkansas?
I did not know that, but sure.
Pretty sure he did. He's from Arkansas. No, why?
Walmart.
Oh, that's right.
The headquarters of Walmart is in Arkansas.
Forgot about that.
And the top people of Walmart, whatever you want to call them, went to Arkansas. Arkansas is loaded with money if they can just get a coach in there and start recruiting talent.
I was wrong. Sorry, guys.
About what? Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton went to
I
Georgetown
did not
and Yale
have
for his...
sex with that woman. Or whatever he said.
Lies.
Anyway, number 7 Texas A&M is getting 5.5, so they are 5.5 point favorites. Texas A&M lost their quarterback, their starting quarterback, due to a broken ankle. He'll be out for a few weeks until end of October, November. So Zach Calzada, the backup quarterback, came in against Colorado, played okay. They then blew out the whatever lame school they played last week. Can they get production out of Zach Calzada, basically the backup quarterback? And can they stop the run game? Arkansas is averaging 41 points a game, which is outstanding. They're allowing 125 yards on the ground, which is what Texas A&M is going to have to do. And can they force Zach Calzada to beat them? That's what you're going to have to do. Again, it's a lot like Rutgers and Michigan. Can they force the passing game to beat them? Because if I am Arkansas, if I'm Sam Pittman, I'm going into this game and saying, if Calzada wants to beat us, if he wants to spin that beam and throw it all over the field to all these receivers, go for it. But I'm not going to let them run for 250 yards and 5 touchdowns on us. And can Arkansas prove that they're playing with the big boys? The over-under is 47. How much defense you think is going to be played? No one knows. That's a little low to me. I think I would take that over. However, Simeon, who you got?
That's a great question, because Arkansas is looking surprisingly good. First-year coach, right?
Yes. First-year coach, or maybe second year?
No, first year. It was the guy who went back to a school.
His name is Sam Pittman.
Right, that's the current one. Their coach was somewhere else before. He was at Western. He went to. I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up the game here real quick.
It is at AT&T Stadium. I basically gave you everything you need to know.
Stadium. Yeah, I was listening to you. I'm just not sure who I like.
Historically, Texas A&M has dominated this rivalry, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. I'm taking Arizona.
Whoa!
Arkansas.
You would win a bunch of money if Arizona won this game.
Yeah, I would win a bunch of money. Here's why. This is the first real school Texas A&M is running into, and they only put up 10 points against Colorado.
Yep.
Arkansas Arkansas has beat Rice and Texas. And I know I'm throwing Rice in there, and Rice is 0-3 in the conference.
Are they coming off a bye week? Arkansas.
Arkansas, no. Okay. They played Georgia State last week.
And blew them out.
And won. Rice has played Arkansas, Houston, and Texas. They didn't look good against any of them, but it's still a pretty good, it's still an okay squad. So I'm picking them just because I think they're more put together. When you look at their numbers, they're more balanced on both offense and defense. I do think this is a 4.5-point game. I'm guessing it's only going to be a 3-point game at the end when we see it. I think you take the under. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game because it's the SEC. So, and especially you said Texas A&M lost their quarterback too, right? So this is one of those games where defense is going to make a difference and special teams is going to make a difference. If there's a turnover, that's going to be the person who wins the game. Like, that's kind of where I'm taking.
Everyone was so impressed with Arkansas and the line of scrimmage and what they did against Texas, and I think that's a little overreaction because it takes a while. Again, I said give Sark and Texas give them a year or two. Just chill on Texas. Sam Pittman wants to win by running the football, okay? They allow 125 yards rushing, and that's all Texas A&M wants to do now. Jimbo is going to have his quarterback plan. Jimbo is the best...
Chad Morris
is the best strategizer in the game and best teacher of young quarterbacks and bringing them along. But this is still a backup quarterback. And I understand it was him and I'm forgetting your name, dude, and I'm sorry. For him and whoever won the starting job in camp, and they were neck and neck. You go to Colorado and you only squeak out 10 points. Like, it's an Arkansas team that is red hot right now. I'm taking Arkansas. Again, I don't love it. It's a lot like my Baylor pick. I don't love it, but I don't know what I'm getting from Zach Calzada, and I know what I'm going to get from Arkansas. At least I think I know what I'm going to get from Arkansas. Even through the first, they're going to run the football, and they're going to play good defense, and they're going to be explosive in the passing game, and their quarterback has been outstanding and very efficient. So I got to take Arkansas. I don't love it. I might take Arkansas plus 5.5, just in case it's a 3-point game, but they lose. But I'm going to take Arkansas to upset Texas A&M. And again, it has more to do with that. If Texas A&M had their starting quarterback, I'd take Texas A&M. But because it's a backup quarterback, even with 1 week of preparation, don't care. Taking Arkansas. And finally, another neutral site game. Number 12, Notre Dame, the underdog, taking on number 18, a lower-ranked team, Wisconsin. Wisconsin is actually the favorite in this game by 6.5 points. Wisconsin coming off a bye. Their defense is always stout. They have to run the football, and Mertz has to be better taking care of the football and in the red zone, specifically being efficient as they go down the field. Notre Dame, Jack Cohen, the transfer to Stanford, has been outstanding, but they haven't been able to run the ball. They're giving up 150 yards on the ground. That's not going to cut it against Wisconsin coming off a bye. They have to be able to run the ball against a very good defensive line with a very immature, and I say that just because they're lower classmen, offensive line. All 3 wins have been close. Florida State does not look good. That's been close. Toledo doesn't look good. Or, I'm sorry, not Toledo. Maybe it was. No. It was Kent State. Kent State, that was a close game. And then last week against, I forget them, it finished as like a 14-point game, but it was a 7-point game in the fourth quarter. So, Simeon, who are you trusting?
There we go.
Notre Dame and Jack Cohen. Yeah. Wisconsin coming off a bye with that running game, and they're going to be better. Neutral site game, Soldier Field, that's in Chicago. Who you got?
I don't think Wisconsin's going to be better. I mean, they should be better, yes. I don't know if they will be better. I got...
Over-under's 46.5, by the way.
I don't think that's going to
I think it might.
I really don't like Wisconsin here.
Okay, so you're taking Notre Dame.
I don't like either team, but I'm thinking Notre Dame, and I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. But
Are you taking them plus the points or outright?
No, what's the
6.5.
point spread? Sorry, I don't have that game.
So touchdown.
plus the points.
Okay, so you don't trust them to win, but you trust it to be a close game.
Both teams are going to try to lose this game, I think. That's kind of where I'm at.
So historically, coming off of a bye, Wisconsin has been outstanding. They've come off a bye a couple times against Ohio State.
I'm definitely going to be wrong, but
They've come off a bye a couple times against Ohio State in Columbus, and they have looked great. Their running game is going to be better, and Mertz is going to take care of the football. You just have to believe, coming off a bye, that offense and that head coach and their defense is going to be outstanding, is just going to – they're not going to let Graham Mertz mess it up like he messed up the Penn State game. And that's the only reason they lost the Penn State game, is because they were awful in the red zone and Graham Mertz was awful. Specifically, Graham Mertz was awful in the red zone. I know – I wish that this point spread was closer than 6.5. This tells me that no one believes in Notre Dame, and that kind of sucks, because I would feel a lot better if actually Wisconsin was the underdog in this situation. But I'm still taking Wisconsin. Coming off a bye, Graham Mertz has got to be better, but they're going to be able to run the football. And again, Notre Dame gives up 150 yards on the ground, so you can tack on another 50 of that probably. You're getting 200 yards. If Graham Mertz has a 200-yard day with a touchdown and no turnovers, they're going to win the game. Notre Dame also has looked shaky, and I don't like it. And they haven't even played what I would say an elite defense, and Wisconsin is an elite defense. So let's type this up real quick for the viewers at home. Simeon's taking Notre Dame. I'm taking Wisconsin. I would take them outright. We are both taking Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Just for kicks and giggles, would you hammer that over? No, you would say under. It's 47.5. For
Arkansas
and A&M.
It's gonna be close. I think that's the best over under that we've seen all day. My bet's not been good. Let's say under. It's probably, which means it's gonna be over. So everybody bet the over.
Yes,
because I'm gonna be wrong.
Everyone bet the over on Texas A&M Arkansas. We're both taking Michigan, but we both say hammer the over. Which again,
correct.
I've been hot. He's not. So do with what you will.
Which means they're not.
Which means they're not going to get it
right down the middle. They're going to miss it by
or
half
they're
a
going
point
to tie it.
a point.
Yeah. This is such a terrible podcast, but we love it. We both say Baylor, right? We both said Baylor.
Yeah, I think so.
We both said plus the Baylor 7, and then finally, I said UCLA, and you said
I don't remember who they're playing.
Stanford.
You'll have to forgive me. No, I think I picked UCLA.
Okay, so we both picked UCLA.
Yeah.
I would not touch that over-under at 58. Actually, we both said under, right?
Yeah.
We both said under for the UCLA and Stanford game. So that is my 5 biggest games. That is what I'm going to be watching this weekend, of course. I'm also going to be watching our nephews get baptized and dedicated.
No, not dedicated.
That's it.
It's not baptized. We're not Catholics.
Well, you can still be baptized, even if you're not.
You can still be baptized, but Mennonites don't believe in baby baptism, hence they're Anabaptists.
Okay, didn't know that. So anyway, we're watching our nephews getting dedicated,
Watch
which
me be
I only
100%
find out
wrong.
I was going to on Tuesday. I was just going to be like,
Nice.
why would I go to that? That just sounds boring to me. So, but my wife said, no, you're going. So.
We're great uncles, because guess what I said too?
You said that exact same thing.
I'm like, well, I don't need to go to that. And she's like, no, you need to go to that. And I'm like, okay.
Who
well, then
said
we're going
that?
to it.
You're
Liz,
you know.
my fiance.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we're both great uncles. Okay, so we're both going to the baby dedication. That's what I'm watching this
Yes.
weekend. Simeon,
Yes.
your lock of the week that is more like an unlock of the week.
Okay, so here's the deal, everybody. Here is the deal. I have 3 this week, because why not pile onto the pain?
Okay.
Technically, I accidentally made a 4th. So my 4th is the over-under of North Carolina, Georgia Tech. I took the
Which
over.
is what?
So, hold on. Sorry. I have it up here. 63.5.
That's a big over.
Yeah, that was an accidental.
Oh.
I meant to take my actual lock of Wyoming at UConn.
Oh my gosh.
UConn has been blown out every single game. I have no idea what is going on in the Great Northeast, in South Boston there. So 54.5 just seems against Wyoming, how Wyoming's been playing. Take the over. I'm taking the over there.
Okay.
Which is at 54.5.
Okay.
Wait, did I bet twice for that
Oh,
game?
no.
That's what I did wrong. What was my other game that I said I was going to put on?
So you
down
put
for?
a double...
Oh, no. I did purposely do North Carolina at Georgia Tech.
Okay.
Sorry, just because Georgia Tech is allowed so many points. So never mind. That wasn't my point. I did accidentally bet twice for the Wyoming-UConn game. I somehow did that last week, too. And then my last one is made up because I don't actually know the point spread yet. Kyler Murray, 2.5 for total
It'll
touchdowns.
probably be 3.5, my guess is.
It's taking the over on that.
If it is 3.5, so let's say it is 3.5, because I'm pretty sure that's what it'll be, because he did 4 last week, right?
Well, but it was at 5 last week.
No, he had 4.
I'm sorry, not 5. It was at 0.5 last week.
Yeah, which is asinine to me. Anyway.
According to DraftKings. That's no, that's not a DraftKings number. Anyway, yeah. I still take the over.
All right, great.
I forget who they're playing. So those are my 3. So everybody, if you want to win money...
Do the opposite. Take the under on Virginia and North Carolina, and take the under again on Wyoming and UConn. Can Wyoming score?
Yes. So Wyoming has put up 38 points a game. They've beat Middle Tennessee 19-16.
Solid team.
Oh, no, Middle Texas.
Oh,
sorry.
not solid team.
Montana State. There we go. Montana State. We got there. Northern Illinois 50-43, and Ball State 45-12. And just to make this clear, UConn has lost to Holy Cross, got shut out by Purdue, and because it's Army, basically got shut out by Army 52-21. And that's Army, ladies and gentlemen.
So
they are putting up 12.3 points per game.
So basically, you're just hoping Wyoming scores 40-plus points.
Basically, yeah.
Okay. So how are you feeling about that?
Because of my track record, I will be losing everything.
Well, hopefully not everything.
So this will be... Now, here's the deal. I won enough bonus money on FanDuel last week. Not exactly sure how. That it's basically all FanDuel's money this week. Oh, great. And I only put $25 in last week, so Mom, don't worry, I'm not a gambling addict. I didn't spend it all, was what I was trying to say. I spent $10 last week.
All right.
Which is
that's fine.
The biggest thing I did was Amari Cooper screwing me over by not scoring a touchdown.
And Arizona State screwed me over by turning the ball over 4 freaking times.
Yeah, so it should be interesting.
That Virginia, I'm sorry, not Virginia, North Carolina, and who is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. They also got shut out by Fresno State. UConn did. What was it?
North Carolina and who?
Georgia Tech.
Not the problem. The good thing about that is North Carolina's defense is trash. It's not very good. And so as long as now Georgia Tech against a very elite Clemson squad put up 6 points, which is pretty good for Georgia Tech. So I'm thinking that they're at least good for 20.
So
So you're hoping that North Carolina scores 45.
Georgia Tech this year has lost to Northern Illinois by 1.
That's the team that Northern Illinois beat at the beginning of the podcast. I couldn't get.
Yep. Has beat Kennesaw State. I'm assuming that's who that is. Yeah, the Kennesaw State Owls. 45-17. And then Clemson only was able to put 14 on them in a 6-point
So again, that's 63.
win.
So they play solid defense. So are you feeling good about that over still? Because
they're They're allowing 17 points per game. But let's look. 17 against Virginia Tech, 59 against Georgia State, and 59 against UVA. And it's not like Georgia Tech's known for their defense. Now
that's a big number, bud.
But here's the deal: it is a big number. But here's the deal: North Carolina is allowing 381 yards.
I know.
So it could be one of those things where it's a big number. Let's just say these bets aren't in parlays.
Yeah, which is a great thing. Absolutely.
Unlike last week, which they were in, I put them in parlays. So, which by the way, only Michigan hit my parlay last week.
That's how betting works, bro.
So, I mean, no, that's what I'm saying. I only really called Michigan last week. So, basically, don't bet with Simeon, and you'll be fine.
And
Simeon also doesn't bet money because he sucks at it, but it's like shopping for me. So it's a lot of fun because I can just put out like nickels and dimes.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of deal. So
nickel and dime ya. All right.
Yeah.
So you have our picks. Go with me if you want to
Yeah.
win money. Go the opposite
Yeah.
of Simeon if you don't. If you
want to have a heart attack.
Go
Yep.
with Simeon if you don't want to win money. Go against him
The fuck you are.
if you do. Oh my goodness, we're losing it. Everyone, this has been the 4th and 1 podcast. As always, wash your hands, you filthy animals, because y'all are filthy. Be kind to one another. We will be back for week 5 next week to preview that and let you know how we did and how terrible Simeon is at picking games. Like and subscribe. Comment down below which game you are excited to see. Anchor.fm, 4th and 1. God bless. Peace out, everybody. Wash your hands.